know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Hello and welcome. Now, just 5 years after commissioning the Chinua Achebe International Airport, the Anambra State government is moving ahead with plans to build a second airport. While the Soludo administration insists the project is critical to its long-term vision of transforming the state into an aviation and industrial hub, critics argue that another airport located barely 60 kilometers from the existing one is an expensive venture that does little to address the state's more pressing needs. The backlash is particularly striking because just 9 months ago, the state government denied reports that it plans to build an airport in Urumba North local government area. At the time, the Commissioner for Information, Law Mefo, dismissed the reports as speculation, explaining that although the proposed Anambra mixed-use industrial city, that's AMIC, would require major transport infrastructure, no decision had been made on whether to construct an airport or a railway. However, the government's position changed in June 2026 when Mefo announced that Governor Chukwuma Soludo had approved plans for a second airport as part of the administration's long-term economic strategy. Officials argue that the new airport is essential to supporting the projected economic growth of the Aerotropolis city development. Joining me now to discuss further on this is the State Commissioner for Information, Mr. Law Mefo himself. Mr. Mefo, thank you very much for coming on the program. What informed the change of mind? Just about 9 months ago, you were quoted all over the media saying that no decision had been taken, in fact, saying it was just a rumor, that there was no truth in the report. So what informed the change of decision?
Thank you very much. Yes, that position is correct. As at the time I told us that there was no airport in view, there was none, actually. You know, a lot goes into this. Feasibility studies, very extensive. It took well over a year. So as at the time people were talking about a second airport, there was no decision on it yet. The feasibility studies haven't been concluded. Nothing has returned to the Anambra State Executive Council. So no decision. And for us to read that a second airport was already in the making was a bit surprising.
Well, maybe because people got to find out that you were carrying out this feasibility study and all of that. As they say, there's no smoke without fire, and it eventually turned out to be true.
I wasn't in a position to say that there was an idea like that, or that there was even a feasibility study going on then. There is a reason for it. You see, to get a space in a place like Anambra for an airport, as expansive as an Electropolis, was a bit dicey. Nobody was sure that we were going to get the space for an Electropolis in Anambra. So if we had agreed with them and the feasibility study turned out not to be encouraging or positive, then we would have made a fool of ourselves.
So does Anambra State actually need a second airport at this time? I mean, you just commissioned one. You just commissioned one not long ago. Not even up to a year ago.
It's not an airport. It's not an airport. You know, that is where the misconception is coming from.
Okay.
This is not an airport. It's not just a second airport. It's an Electropolis. An Electropolis is a cluster of industries that is driven by aviation, with an airport as a central part of it.
So it means there's still going to be an airport there. That's just If an airport is the central part of it, it means there's an airport.
Can you just wait? Listen now. If you give me a moment, let me explain the difference between an airport and an electropolis. An electropolis is not an airport. It's a cluster of industry that, is driven by aviation, by an airport. And the existing airport in Anambra cannot be converted into an electropolis because of the industries that are required to combine to yield up an electropolis. So when we talk about the second airport, we miss the point. We need to talk about an electropolis, which is exactly what Soludo is building. Let me try further distinction here.
Yeah.
In the entire world, you have hundreds of airports, but you have only 80 electropolis in the whole world, only 80. And that of Anambra is likely to be perhaps the first in West Africa. So it is not an ordinary airport. I want you to look at it from that perspective to understand what the.
I've just been looking up the word aerotropolis. At the core of an aerotropolis is an airport. So everything revolves around the airport. So the core infrastructure we're talking about here is still an airport. So there's still going to be an airport. There's no doubt about it.
There's going to be an airport. No. Don't confuse your viewers. It's not an airport. An electropolis is not an airport. Do you understand that?
The airport is the core of the aerotropolis.
Listen.
Okay.
If you want, unless you have...
No, go ahead. I'll wait and listen to you.
You made up your mind on what the answer is.
Not exactly, sir.
And I have just told you that in the entire world, you have only 80 electropolis. Only 80. Whereas you have well over 1,000 airports in the world. So why don't you call the entire airports in the world electropolis? You don't. The electropolis that is being built in Anambra is a cluster of industries that will be driven by aviation. That is the important thing, the important point here. Now, let me also drive it down to the fact that the centrality of the Anambra electropolis is something that is very, very key. It's going to be a game changer because the electropolis will provide the most centrally located airport in the entire Southeast with states like Cross River, Akwa Ibom, acting as catchment areas. This is very, very important. It's going to be the most centrally located airport in the Southeast, perhaps in the country, as a matter of fact. And it is going to serve an estimated population of well over 25 million people, going far beyond Anambra State.
Now, this
Southeast,
sorry to cut
Delta,
you. Go on.
Ibom, part of Cross River will benefit, will have to use these electropolis as they exit a corridor to come into their states and they exit.
But these states, excuse me, Mr. Mefo, but these states you have mentioned, these states all have airports. They all have airports, probably with the exception of Abia State. These other states you have mentioned, Enugu has an airport. Cross River, as you have mentioned, has an airport. What is it called now? Akwa Ibom has a massive airport. So are they going to leave their airports and begin to patronize the Anambra airport?
You need to understand how such economics works, right? People follow proximity. People follow what we may call opportunity costs. The value. People are looking for value for their money. So if you have an airport in your state and it will take you an hour and a half to get to that airport, and it will take you maybe 40 to 50 minutes to get to another airport that is outside your state, which one will you follow? We did a feasibility study that took months that established all this before that decision to build the electropolis was taken.
Now, I remember you saying that, look, that's some months back now when this issue came up, when you denied that an airport was being contemplated. You said, look, a decision had not been taken whether it was going to be an airport or a railway system. What actually informed the decision now, the decision to jettison the idea of a railway, in place of an airport?
No, you didn't get what I said. I did say the Electropolis will be an alternative to a railway system. The railway system is still there. The feasibility study for that has also been completed. It's funding that it's awaiting. Once we get the funds, that will take off. So it was not the Electropolis was never going to be an alternative to the railway system.
Now let me ask you.
I was talking about whether it will be.
What was? Hello? Don't you think with the current airports that you have, that probably, just as your critics have said, that you should have probably concentrated effort in improving what you have, the airport. It's a brand new airport that you have. You improve the facilities there, ensure that passenger traffic increases. From the figures that we have between when that airport began operation and now, you've just had just around 600,000 passengers and under 150,000, under 150 flights so far. So obviously you need to improve things, probably drive passenger traffic to that area and all of that. Don't you think that's what you should be concentrating on rather than expending money on another aviation project, so to speak?
No, it's not. It's not the way to look at it, right? The current airport in Anambra State is not neglected. Governor is pumping in money there to ensure that it gets to the international standard that it should have. That is not being interrupted by the Electropolis. The Electropolis project is entirely a different economic venture. It is going to complement the current airport, no doubt, but it is not a substitute to it either. That means that the Electropolis is not in any way going to affect the existing airport. The existing airport is there servicing the economy from its own perspective. The Electropolis is focusing essentially on a different economic trajectory. This point is very important. This is one. And number two, there is a document that was produced during the Chief Willie Obiano governorship. It's called Anambra Vision 2070. In that Anambra Vision 2070, there is an express provision for a second airport, and that is what Soludo is implementing. So it's not the idea is not new. It has always been there in the Vision 2070.
The question
that is what. Can you wait a minute? Okay. Just one more minute. Anambra is the second smallest state in Nigeria after Lagos, right? Now, Lagos is even expanding by reclaiming land from the ocean and so on and so forth. Anambra doesn't have that luxury. Our population is fast growing, in fact, exploding. What that means is that in a matter of 1 decade, it won't be up to 2 decades, we will not be able to find a land space to build a second airport. So the best time to bank that land and begin to develop it is now particularly. In fact, it's one of the driving reasons why the airport has to come now, because population is catching up with Anambra already.
But the question is, people would say, look, you have more pressing needs, and that, I understand it's in the document.
There is no pressing need. There's no pressing need in Anambra that is abandoned at the expense of the Electropolis.
I'm just wondering whether the railway project would not have made much better sense at this time than this Electropolis.
Whether what? I didn't get that.
Whether the railway project that you have conceived would not have made better sense at this time for Anambra State. than the Aerotropolis you're constructing? Because
now,
let me just tell you why I'm asking that question. It's one thing to construct an airport. It's a different thing to get the passengers and the flights to use that airport. As we speak today, you have several airports across the country, but maybe just about 4 or 5 are actually viable and that are functional. And from the reports we have gathered from both NCAA, the FAA, and the various aviation agencies, between 2021 and now, passenger traffic has been dropping by 10% annually. And it's going to get worse because of the cost of, flight. Because the cost of flight definitely will not come down. And so it's really affecting passenger traffic. Very few Nigerians fly. Very few Anambrarians fly. I'm just wondering where you are going to get the passenger traffic from. It would have been a different situation if, for instance, you took on the railway project, because people argue that would make much impact, better impact than this Aerotropolis project, at this time at least.
We have a different funding process for the railway. This is very important. So the railway is coming, and the Electropolis is already under construction. So it's no longer an idea. This is very fundamental. It has gone up to 30% into completion. And the idea is that in the next 1 to 2 years, it should be able to receive flights. The issue of viability was thoroughly investigated during the visibility studies, and the return on that question was very, very positive. That is why I started by telling you the estimated population the Electropolis would serve, and as long as it remains the catchment airport for 25 million people, 1% of that population will keep the airport going. I tell you. So it's not every airport that has the potentiality as the Electropolis. There was a very serious feasibility study that was carried out before that decision was taken. And don't forget, the reputation of the governor of Anambra State is at stake here. He is a foremost global economist. He knows what he is doing. And I just want, such critics to give him a benefit of the doubt. He is not joking here. He knows what he is doing. He believes, and we know so, that if we don't do the Electropolis now, in the next 1 decade, it will be impossible to contemplate it in Anambra.
You're a member of the State Executive Council.
Yes, I am.
How much debate actually went into this project before it was now decided on to go ahead with it?
That was why when I spoke about the airport the first time, I told us that it was just in the realm of a speculation. The Anambra State Executive Council meetings, very robust engagements, and the governor used the floor for people to give alternative viewpoints. And the convergence of opinion was that the airport, the Electropolis will have to be driven and driven now. And I've given you the reasons. There are many more reasons even, but like I said, it was a very robust conversation, and more than an absolute majority, insisted that we should go on with the aviation, the new aviation project, which is the Electropolis, because of its centrality in the new economic project and programs of the Soludo-led administration in Anambra State. So if it's not done now, you can't do it again. And
okay.
if you understand Soludo's dream of turning Anambra into Africa, Dubai, Taiwan, Silicon Valley, one of the major enablers of Dubai as a commercial and the logistic hub is an Electropolis. Dubai is one of the 80 spots where you have Electropolis in the world. And a lot, Memphis, so many others, India has one. Nigeria should have one at least. And people should be happy that Soludo is the one that is taking that bull by the horn.
So how much is the estimated cost of this project? Because we've seen a number of figures in the media, figures being bandied around. So how much is the cost of the project, and how has it been financed?
I don't have it off cuff here. I will supply you those details.
But of course you would know about the financing of the project, because you obviously would be wondering if this is going to put so much pressure on on public finances now.
No, you see, let me tell you something about Soludo's style of governance from public finance perspective. You need to understand that there is something Soludo is doing now that nobody has tried in Nigeria. His budgeting process, his capital expenditure has never been less than 70% of the annual budget. 70%. In fact, the subsisting 2026 budget is 79 capital and only 21%.
Well, but the most important thing is to get the money. I mean, it's one thing to budget; it's another thing to actually generate the revenue.
Oh yeah, that's it. Of course, if you need to come to Anambra and see transformational projects that are going on across the board. That is why I said that the Electropolis has not in any way interrupted the transformational economic development of the state. 5 dual carriageways are going on, because you were talking about railway, but nobody even knows that as we speak now, we are going on with 5 dual carriageways in Anambra, creating the Anambra Beltway. Of course, railway will join eventually. We have one airport now. Electropolis is ongoing. And Anambra is transforming. The idea is to prepare Anambra as a mega city, one big mega city. Anambra is between 8 and 9 million persons now, people now. So it means that in the next 2 to 3 years, Anambra must have crossed a 10 million population, which is the benchmark for a mega city. You need to prepare for this population explosion. Many people don't know. Anambra has the highest population in the entire Southeast.
That is why a railway system at this time would have made much better sense.
And that is why
to deal with this population.
I told you that a railway system is coming. The feasibility study has been completed. Funds is what is awaiting. It's awaiting funding, and it is going to come. Government spent a lot of money doing the feasibility studies for the railway. This is because it will take up to the railway will take up to $1.6 billion, right? So a special kind of funding will have to be sought for it. The Electropolis wouldn't cost that much.
So this Electropolis project is being funded solely by the state?
Well, I can't tell you whether that is a yes or a no. Not now.
I mean, you should know. You are the Commissioner for Information, so you should know.
Yes, I should know, yes. And that is why I told you I don't have all the facts yet, and I will, and I'll get back to you on them.
All right, Mr. Mefo, thank you very much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us. It's always exciting talking to you, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do it again.
Yes, we'll definitely do it again. We'll talk, maybe when the railway project is started, we'll come back to talk about it. And of course, we'll still come back.
Yes.
We'll definitely come back to this issue when you get the figures, the cost and all of that. So we'll come back to it, definitely.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. That was Mr. Law Mefo, the Commissioner for Information, Anambra State in Southeast Nigeria. Well, that's how much we can take on the program. I'll see you next time.
Ayetoro community is a theocratic communist setting funded by a group of believers known as the Apostles in 1947. Ayetoro community in its heydays has the largest per capita income in the whole of West Africa. Initially, Ayetoro community was 15 to 20 kilometer landmass away from the sea. But as it stands now, more than 10 kilometers of the total landmass has gone into the sea. And this frequent surge is attributed to emission from multinational oil companies off the coasts of our land, not minding the environmental challenges and disasters.
They established in one of the Nigeria base. A lot of people you see in the offshore were trained here, both mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and nautical engineer were trained in this bush. Yes, this bush, I call this place bush. And this is the Shekhar Technical Workshop approved by the IWD, which is now Minister of Transport. IWD means the Inland Waterway Department. That is the colonial time.
This place is like small London. So, and our primary occupation here is fishing. You can see now, everything now has been eroded. Some of our fishermen, they have went to other places to find for their source of livelihood.
We have been experiencing corruption coming every day by day. And since that time, we have been making efforts, writing letters to the federal government, because we are law-abiding citizens. We believe that we cannot engage ourselves in a radical ways, because we believe that by protesting, writing letters, federal government can come to our aid. By the videos, a lot of things we have been doing since we have expressing the Sea Church.
I'm shooting.
That area, that is the iconic worship center. Yeah, that wood. That is the iconic worship center. Over there, we have the community service center here, over there. Then at the same time, the major streets where other minor streets were linked to has been permanently submerged by the ocean surge.
I'm worried because this recurrency surge is affecting us in virtually all human aspects of our life. Social life has been collapsed, economic-wise has been collapsed, health-wise, nothing to sing and dance home about. Even our religious activities, our life, religious life, has been collapsed totally, because Ayetoro community is a religious setting. The church moved here. We have not just come here to trade or to do other activities. The church is the community is the church. So every aspect of our life has been totally, damaged by this current, recurring sea surge happening in Ayetoro. And over 20 years, we've been into this. People have lost, several properties worth millions. Buildings has collapsed. Over 500 to 600 to 700 buildings have been washed away. Our industrial power has been collapsed. Ayetoro community is known to be a self-developed community on its own, without any intervention of the federal government or the state government over the years. Yet we kept on going. If by now the ocean surge, as a result of the oil exploration that is going on in our offshore, is destroying our land. Up till now, we cannot see the hand of the government coming to help and to rescue us. It is so sad, and that's why I'm worried.
Ilé ló kún bẹ̀, gbogbo ilé yẹn ni òkun ó ti parẹ́ pátápátá. Bó dẹ̀ ṣe ń wó ilé yẹn ló ń wó gbogbo àwọn ohun àlùmọ́nì wa àwọn ohun tí a ní ilé ẹrù wa ìmí gan tó bá ń wo báyìí tí a bá tètè dìsámúra àti gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ó gbé gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ nìyẹn gbogbo ilé.
Fund the trip of those guys. Trip of those guys.
Excruciating, it is extreme. In fact, every blessed day, people used to die because of the thinking that the community that was founded at their present has been eroded. So it is extreme, it is serious, it is harrowing.
Tell me, what's your fear?
My father's house happened to be the extreme house before the Atlantic Ocean. We lost it 2017. 2007, that was when we lost it. It's highly devastating. Even the one that belonged to my grandmother, we lost it. That was along primary school road. We lost it too. So I've been affected. I'm highly devastated. Now I'm a tenant in my hometown. Imagine how it is highly devastating. We need the support of the entire world to save this community. Ayeto community is a community that must not go into extinction. It's a very serious situation.
The up and down. So the up is reserved for the male. Why do that? Because they want them to access the sea quickly because of the occupation they engage in. Then the downside is reserved for the female so that they can drive their fishes because the Atlantic breeze is coming from the up. So that the smoke will not disturb the community from up. That was why they situated the downside for the women so that their kitchen can be downside. So you have Bale, Abejoye, Korodun Aneroye, Adedoyin, Alebiosun, Bishop, Arojolu. Then so after Arojolu you have the information house or the glass house as we used to call it.
So where's the glass house now?
It's gone already.
It's submerged already.
So we have the happy celebrations regarding the Ayeto community. People coming just like you came now. All the information you buy your trip, what you are going to do, when you are going to, you go back. So it will be documented before you go into the community. That was how it was done then. Then the city hall or civic center, then too, all of them have gone. After the city hall, you have Ojomo Street is gone too. So behind Ojomo, you have the church building, the church street and the church building. Is gone already.
And that church is very important.
Very important. Community. That is where they situated that night of January 12, 1947. They situated when they came in. Now we have Akinjoye, we have Ajayi. Then in Ajayi Street, you have the first Ogeloyinbo Palace built with wood. So that one is gone too. We have the Olowojayi. Then after Olowojayi, you have the shoe making industry.
There used to be a shoemaking
industry. One of the industry, a small scale industry. Then behind the shoemaking industry, you have the clothing making industry too. So that one too is gone. So we have after Olowojayi, behind it is the shoemaking and the clothing making. We have Olowo Topa Oyinbo. We have Omogbenwa. Then after Omogbenwa, we have the carpentry workshop. So the carpentry workshop too is currently threatened. Half of it is gone into into the sea. And then you have Tobase. Then after the Tobase street there, you have a mini supermarket. There's a mini supermarket there. So after the mini supermarket is where you have Oyetomi Street. So from the upside,
where's the mini supermarket?
This is just behind the what's it called?
But it's still there.
We can still find it there. So after the what's called the mini supermarket, you have Oyetomi Street. So from the main side now, those the main streets, Oyetomi Street is the only surviving street you can find up.
And it's been threatened.
It's threatened. In almost we only have just 2 buildings.
That is where my mother's father's house was situated.
and it has been eroded.
Just 2 houses.
And your fear now is that this side, where
yes.
the female side might be affected. Yes. So it's like everybody has moved to this side now.
Yes, yes. So most of the male now, they are actually residing with their wives.
With their wives.
Their wives. So J, Oyetomi is the only one that you see. Then from the downside where you have the
and this broad street
is
no longer
existing.
It's gone
Completely. It's gone completely. Where you can have the broad street, the beauty of the broad street now, it's around the Block Palace. That's where you can have the beauty of the broad street.
Okay.
How it looks like.
All right. I think we're good with it.
Chọ́ọ̀chì wa gangan the main church táwọn baba ńlá wa kọ́ ó ti wó àtúnkọ́ mi ó tún wó so ẹ jọ̀ọ́.
The church is where all the inhabitants of this land will gather to worship God, because that was the revelation our forefathers received. This place is a Christian utopian religious community for the service of God. The landscape totally, let me put it that way. Why do I say so? It's because when you look at the land mass, as at when our founding fathers came here, 1947, it is about 20 or 10, 15 kilometers to the shore. So people had to trek. I think Dr. Noge wrote a book about Ayato community, that the only challenges that the fishermen, because Ayato is known for fishing, the only challenges that they are having, it is the accessibility to the shore. Too. That is as at that time, and it's been a long time. So it has actually changed the landscape, and we are worried about it. And the technical college, here we are. Now you can see now these are debris, has been ravaged by the sea surge. Now that place, that is the bakery that we are using before. This last month, the sea surge has ravaged this place, and we've relocated to another place. So it is serious. That is the powerhouse generating plant. It has been affected, greatly affected by those sea surge. We also have dockyard over there where marine boats were built in the past. That place has been submerged as well. So nothing to write home about in the community again. All our social, cultural activities has gone. The secondary schools has been relocated for about 3 consecutive times now. Nothing again.
So when you relocate, the water comes.
Urgent intervention is not coming any moment from now. The community will no longer in existence, because 2/3 of the community has gone already. You can see the church.
If something reasonable, prompt action is not taken on the part of government to salvage this land, perhaps we might. We don't pray for such anyway. The community might go into extinction. We don't want that, because Ayato community has helped the federal government, even the West Africa, in terms of marine, because when Ayato was having a technical school, the Ayato community has trained experts in marine engineering, in nautical engineering, and they are serving all the multinational companies that we can see in our offshore. Ayato community has built the largest fishing boat in the history of Nigeria and West Africa. It was built here by the local carpenter, and those people that even built those deep boats, they were still alive. Check Fishing News International, is there.
Urgent action is not taken. Within, let me say, within the space of 2 months, where we stand here will no longer be. So, and that is why we are appealing to the federal government as a matter of urgency and exigency to please come to our rescue, so that Ayetoro is a historic community so that it will not become a thing of history. That is our appealing. We are appealing to the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dito Sopadec, Ondo State Oil Producing Area Development Commission, to please come to our rescue so that this glorious community will not become a thing of history.
Tell me about this school. The federal government, we are begging the international community, we are begging NDDC, we are begging all relevant agencies to please come to our aid.
Thank you very much.
Kàn jọ̀ọ́ kàn má jẹ́ kó kún yìí kó gbé wa lọ gbogbo ilé ibi iṣẹ́ wa gbogbo ilé ìsìn tá ń pè church gbogbo ẹ̀ ló ti wó tí ẹ bá wo.
To the state government, federal government, and the world to give what you call immediate action on this community. If you were here about 7 years, about 20 years back, if we tell you the extension of this place, you can't believe. And here,
left Nigeria 2016 July, went through Benin to Kano, to Abuja, Abuja to Kano, Kano to Niger. So from Niger we went to Agadez, as Agadez is also part of Niger. So from there we embarked on the journey through the Sahara Desert. We were put on a truck, a very Toyota Hilux. We're like almost 30 on that Hilux. On the normal ground, that Hilux will not size 20 persons, but we're up to 30. We're packed like load, like goods on top the Hilux. And we spent 4 days on the Sahara Desert. There during the journey was no water. Water got finished, and we had to hold on till we were able to get to Mozouk. Mozouk is a town in Libya, downtown. So from Mozouk, I spent 2 days before I was actually dressed like a lady. Because if you are going in Libya, you have so many checkpoints. The soldiers there, they don't want to see black moving on the street. So because if I enter the taxi as a male to move, they are going to arrest me. So the connection man dressed me as a lady. I had to barb all my beards and my head, makeup, and the hijab. So when we get to the checkpoint, we just look the driver, because the driver is a Libyan man. So we greet the soldiers, they will allow us to pass. That was how I passed through, and I got to Tripoli. From Tripoli, I had to move to seaside, Sabrata, where I'll cross. I actually tried to cross October 1st, 2016. That experience was a very ugly experience. During the journey on the high sea, the Mediterranean Sea, I discovered that the boats that we entered was having a leakage. So from there, that leakage, the boats stopped, was no longer moving. We spent close to more than 3 hours on the sea. Everybody, you see women crying, you see the children crying, and at the end of the day, some were praying, the Muslims praying, the Christians praying. Then the police, the Libya police, they came to rescue us. They arrested us on that very occasion. I went to the prison. I spent more than 3 months in the prison. So from there, I called my family. They were able to raise money to release me. Well, finally, how I came back to Nigeria, I tried to cross again. So crossing again, I was actually arrested again. And I was taken to Gerian. There's a place called Gerian. Irregular migration is not worth it. And people, they think that out there the pasture is green, and it's not true. You, at times when you experience these things, you are not, some persons, they experience these things, they are not normal, they are not the same again. So it's not good for other people to experience what we've experienced.
This is home for us. This is where we have been born, we have grown up. There's no place like this for us. As a community, we are not ready to move. Monkey River has always been a fishing community. And I started out as a fisherman. And that was a joyful time.
Monkey River is in a very dangerous place right now. I mean, it's on a point where people are moving away because of this erosion.
We were living out there where the water is now. Got the house washed away from there. But
my name is Mario Moschamp. I'm a resident of the community of Monkey River. We started seeing the issues with the erosion on the coastline. What hurts me the most about this whole situation is even after we lost several pieces of properties, we lost a whole football field, was the loss of our burial ground. My grandma and my grandfather are now washed out in the sea. Their graves are gone. That really hurts. We have been doing our best to try and keep what we have. I don't want to see any more graves go to the sea, as a lot of my families are still there. My sister, aunts and uncles, cousins, good friends, still there, currently threatened by the sea.
My mom is, well, she's the reason I decided to become a teacher.
Where are you for school?
Well, everybody around here, we're related, family members, so it's really personal. So that is why I decided to get on the watershed and see what I could do to assist.
The Monkey River Watershed Association was mainly formed to address what we were seeing with the erosion on the coastline. As a community, what we started seeing was changes on the river. And we didn't see the kind of sand that used to come out before to replenish what is lost naturally.
we have no beach now, but it was really nice having a beach where you can walk around and enjoy the view of the sun rising.
My call is to try and see what I can do to improve, to better manage than what we have, because it's easier to manage what you have than to restore what you lost. So I had to get involved with the Watershed Association. In 2017, we were able to implement our first project. The pilot for the stabilization of the coastline using the geotubes.
The Watershed did a geotube project where they installed some geotubes in front of the village. Basically, that was like a stabilization method to assist with some of the villagers who were at risk of losing their homes.
The GEF Small Grants Program provides financial and technical resources to civil society organizations to implement community-driven action for global impact. I was able to nurture further relationships with the residents of Monkey River, including understanding their plight, their concerns with the erosion, the loss of homes, the loss of their livelihoods, the loss of biodiversity. The degradation of watershed in general is at an alarming rate being degraded, and for me that is extremely concerning.
What I see with the erosion, I would hope that they can stabilize it, put something down, rocks, sand, to stabilize the beach. Once it's stabilized, then they can do other projects to help that.
Waves and the sand was coming inside the downstairs and run through all the way to the back. So what happened, the guys took some rocks that government gave us, some boulders and small ones, and they put them just in wheelbarrow and boat and throw them in front to help to build back a little bit of the sand. So we know that the boulders would work.
Monkey River Village is one of those coastal communities that we prioritize. A coastal fishing community located on the southern eastern part of Belize, a small Creole community living in harmony with nature. Monkey River is not responsible for the climate crisis, yet they are the ones that are suffering the greatest loss and damage. What we need is climate justice.
I want to get Monkey River back on the map.
Monkey River exists. It's a beautiful place.
The natural resource is here for us to use, not abuse and misuse. Because without them, we can't exist. If we can address what we are seeing, Monkey River can be here for another 100 years.
I met a friend on Facebook, a Zambian precisely, so we talked about migration, that's me coming over to Zambia for a good job. So I was into fumigation and clothes selling, mobile sales before I left. So when the thought came of relocating to Zambia, when I checked the economy of both countries, I found out that Zambia, though small, but their currency is quite better than Nigeria. Applied for visa, my visa was granted, I purchased my tickets, and then I left. I flew through Kenya Airline. That was on the 1st of June. I arrived Zambia on the 2nd. And then I called this my friend, and I told him I'm in Zambia. So where I was, he moved me to another lodge, a hotel. And that was where I was assaulted by him. He was even dragging my passport. He wanted to get my passport, my yellow fever vaccine card. But because I hid it very far, he couldn't get access to it. He tore my bag, went away with my BTA. It's $885, and then I didn't see him. He absconded. When he left, he didn't pay the hotel bills. He had gone with my money. I couldn't find my money in my luggage. So when I noticed that things were not what we actually planned, I had to become friends with a gardener boy in that hotel. So that previous night, I was asked to move out of the hotel because he didn't pay the bills. But I noticed that he and the receptionist were in good accordance, So I tried asking the receptionist, did that man tell you he was going to come back? He said no, and he's owing for a night, that I can't stay in that hotel. So they had to seize my luggage, seize my properties. I had to look for where to sleep. So that fateful night, I slept in an abandoned vehicle where I was almost gang raped by 3 guys. You know, I had to start this Nigerian movie. I'm with HIV, I'm with this, I'm with that, So you want to, sleep with me and all that. So they made away with my travel documents, my return tickets and all that. They thought it was an envelope of money. So they went with it after tearing my jean and all that. But they couldn't have access to, because I started shouting. That was around 3 o'clock in the morning. I started shouting, creating scenes, so they ran away. When you leave Nigeria, and like I left genuinely, but what I proposed wasn't what I got. So it was while I was in Zambia I discovered I was human trafficked. So it's real. When you go, you come back, you're alive, you just say, God, I thank you, and you pick up the pieces of your life and start all over.
Nigeria will be impartially governed according to the rule of law. We shall defend the nation from terror. We shall remodel our economy till fuel subsidy is gone. The central bank must work towards a unified exchange rate.
It's been 2 years now since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made those solemn, far-reaching pledges when he was sworn in as the 16th President of Nigeria on May 29, 2023. Halfway through his 4-year term of office, President Tinubu is taking some of the boldest and toughest decisions that are now placing Nigeria on the sure path of genuine growth and progress.
I speak as a member of the Presidential Economic Coordinating Council, and I speak as someone who, from time to time, is opportune to have some conversations with Mr. President. His ruthless commitment and desire to see a transformed Nigeria is unrivaled.
I've known Mr. President now for almost 32, 33 years. He's somebody who likes to take bold steps and bold move, and he's a visionary leader. These structural reforms which Mr. President did, really, you must give him credit. Even his own enemy will give him a credit, because removing total subsidy, making it an open market, for Nigerians to be buying at the market rates, and also doing the exchange rate on top of that. On top of that exchange rate, also doing the removal of subsidy to some of us in the high class in terms of electricity consumption, because 241% increase wasn't really a small thing. But all these have actually been absorbed by people without burning tires, without this, so it was actually accepted. And this has actually reduced the drain on government's resources. But on this one, really, I think Mr. President has actually done extremely very, very, very well. Because these were things that I thought they won't happen in our lifetime, but here we are.
Nigeria's economy was severely challenged when President Tinubu assumed office in May 2023. Revenue had fallen, with debt servicing taking about 90% of government receipts. Oil production had also fallen to a worrying level. The government had a mounting of foreign exchange obligations to deal with. There were fuel subsidy obligations running into trillions of naira.
Nigeria economy was on a cliff and in an intensive unit. And we weren't sure how soon it will fall. But when he came in, within a year, Nigeria moved out of the intensive units, moved away from that cliff, and is now in a recovery position.
The economy was practically on the brink. Our external reserve position, particularly the net external reserves, were so bad that it was so difficult for us to fund our foreign transactions. It was so bad that the letters of credit issued by Nigerian banks, in most cases, were not honored by our correspondent banks abroad. So that created a major crisis in our external position. Then we had a major crisis with our petroleum downstream sector. We were spending anywhere between 10 billion to 15 billion US dollars importing petroleum products. So that created a major fiscal crisis. And as a result of that, we had a regime of massive printing of currency. At the inception of this administration, I think there was a currency printing liability was about 23 trillion naira that was inherited by this administration. And that had very serious implications for our macroeconomic environment, for inflation, for deficit. And to make matters worse, the printing of money was done in a manner that was completely not transparent. So it was a very, very bad situation that required urgent resetting of the economy.
2 years on, and with bold and sometimes difficult economic policies, the economy is beginning to turn the corner. Government revenues have dramatically increased, just as revenue to debt service has also come down to around 68%. States and local governments now get more allocations than ever.
Thus, I've been able to push out economic growth that was the highest rate that Nigeria has seen in 10 years with what we did in 2024. And alongside that growth, we have seen other great indications. Reserves of close to $40 billion. Unencumbered reserve has grown by about $20 billion, which is from 3.99 to 23 billion dollars. Nigeria was able to pay its IMF debt, the one that was procured during COVID, $3.4 billion fully paid, leaving some items of interest rates and special drawing rights to be addressed. Even we have also paid down Eurobonds and of about $2 billion of Eurobonds that we paid in 2024. And the states in 2024 alone in 2024, the states paid down 32% of their total global loans.
Now I can tell you that as a member of the National Economic Council, for the past 9 months, NNPC has not brought any money to Federation account. We largely depend now on Federal Inland Revenue and Nigerian Customs and non-oil revenue as our major source of funds for Federation allocation and fiscal mobilization.
The courage that has been displayed by Mr. President is quite unusual in this part. The hard decisions that we've spoken about for God knows when, he's been able to confront those twin problems. First, with regards to fuel subsidy, gulping about $10 billion every year. So he came in day one, faced that head on, and then the issue of devaluation of the currency and floating it, ensuring that there's transparency and confidence built in the last few months.
Stability is fast returning to the foreign exchange market, and the country has just recorded a balance of payment surplus of $6.83 billion for the financial year 2024.
I would say that we are entering what you can call a stabilization phase of the economy. The kind of volatility that we experienced in the second half of 2023 up until the second half of 2024, those volatilities are beginning to fizzle out. From the second half of 2024 up until now, we have witnessed a kind of normalization, especially in the macroeconomic environment.
Our Fitch ratings are up. The reforms in NNPC,
the signing of the new Investment and Securities Act, several important pivotal reforms that globally and domestically, everyone can attest to the inflection point that is the Nigerian economy this year. Portfolio investment is up, FDI is also up. You know, we've been tracking his investment announcements from his presidential trips, over 30 of them, as at December 2024 was $50.8 billion. Our job is to make sure that those announcements translate into bankable investments that we see through. And so those discussions and dialogues have continued to be ongoing.
The revenue of government has gone up 60% in 2024 compared to previous year. And that's the federal level. At the state level, the revenues to the states have doubled. So these are signs of the improvements in the government revenues as a result of the bold and courageous changes that were made that you have mentioned.
The measures we have taken so far in terms of orthodox monetary policies, we can see have begun to yield fruit. They have begun to yield fruit. We can see that accretion to reserves have been consistent. And at one point in time, may I remind everybody that we achieved the highest level of reserves in the past 3 years at one point in time. We've also continued to see inflation gradually beginning to decelerate. We can see that there's greater confidence in our markets.
What has happened under the solid mineral sector in the past 2 years is unprecedented as a result of the deep-rooted reforms of the Tinubu administration. Virtually all the metrics in the sector have changed. Investments are pouring in. At the last count, the government has attracted over $800 million in new investments to the sector. Among the new investments is a $600 million lithium plant in Kaduna State, and another $200 million refinery near Abuja, and 2 additional processing plants in Nasarawa State.
We have a policy of local value addition, which is also part of our 7-point agenda. And the idea is that for so long as we could remember, even before we were born, our minerals have been adjudged raw materials, and they've been extracted and exported to service the industries of developed societies. And so under the President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda, we say no more. Now, we do not approve licenses from applicants who do not show us concrete plans of local value addition, which means you must process locally.
Revenue to the sector has also quadrupled in just the last 1 year. In 2024, the sector generated over 35 billion naira, up from 6 billion in 2023. And this is despite receiving only 18% of its 29 billion naira budget.
We created the mining marshals, which has become very popular and very, very effective in Nigeria. Now, in the last 1 year, because the mining marshal celebrated 1 year of its establishment a few weeks ago, and I reeled out these very positive and remarkable statistics. They've arrested over 300 illegal miners in 1 year of its operation. Over almost 150 are undergoing prosecution across the states in the country. And we've secured over 9 convictions, including foreigners involved in this nefarious activity. And this has really helped us to send a strong message and signal to the operators in this sector that it's no longer business as usual.
Some of the tough but necessary economic reforms of the government have not come without some difficulties for Nigerians. But the government has responded positively to ameliorate the situation. It's increased the minimum wage to 70,000 naira. It's also established the Consumer Credit Corporation with a provision of over 200 billion naira to make consumer credit more accessible.
Hitherto, Nigerians, especially the working class, find it extremely difficult to get money to buy cars, to build houses, to buy even household appliances. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu thought there shouldn't be any reason why an average worker in Nigeria should worry himself because he wants to get some essentials of life. And so Credit Corp was established, and it's gladdening to note that it has done so well. So many Nigerians have been able to access that.
Another strategy to ease some of the fallouts of the economic reforms is the presidential CNG initiative launched by President Tinubu in October 2023 to facilitate the adoption of natural gas, a cheaper alternative fuel following the removal of petrol subsidy. Since its official rollout in May 2024, thousands of Nigerians and even government agencies have embraced the program, making the switch to CNG.
We've attracted $491 million of investment to auto CNG, which has created 9,000 direct jobs and 75,000 indirect ones. To this end, the Nigerian conversion capacity of vehicles from pure petrol and diesel to turn them to biofuel vehicles was also raised by almost 3,000%, with more than 200 new conversion centers established in this past year.
In addition to the CNG program, the government has rolled out and supported several other initiatives to cushion the impact of its reforms. There is the Presidential Conditional Grant Scheme, which provides cash grants to micro and small businesses. So far, over 700,000 nano businesses have received 50,000 naira each, while micro and small businesses have received ₦1 million each from the scheme.
The citizens have made a lot of sacrifice in the reform process. So there should be a way to ensure that the benefits of the reform trickle down better to the ordinary citizens. In other words, we need to democratize the benefits of the reform, because the citizens are still worried about the cost of living, especially the cost of basic things like food, the cost of transportation, the cost of health care, the cost of education. Those things are still big issues. So going forward, we want to see more impact, more efforts, deliberate efforts to ensure that the cost of living is reduced, so that we can make the whole reform process a lot more inclusive.
Determined to ensure every Nigerian who desires tertiary education is not in any way hindered by funds, the government launched one of the most consequential education initiatives in the history of the country. The Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NELFund for short, provides interest-free loans to students in tertiary institutions who desire the loan to enable them pay their fees and for upkeep. Beneficiaries of the interest-free loan are only expected to start paying back 2 years after the secured jobs upon graduation. The government has made available over 200 billion naira for the takeoff of the initiative.
This scheme was designed and introduced by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, whose vision it is to ensure that everybody has access to education at tertiary level, and those who are coming up to tertiary level have the hope that they can rise to the highest heights without having to worry about funds. So we've disbursed in institutional fees somewhere in the region of 30 billion naira. For the upkeep, we've disbursed 24 billion naira. So we have disbursed a total of 54 billion naira, and by our numbers, 293,000, so just short of 300,000 students have directly benefited, have directly received or should have received value from our disbursement.
The initiative is helping many young Nigerians achieve their dream of getting tertiary education, as funding is now no longer a barrier.
Today, no child can be denied access to higher education because he comes from a poor family. He wasn't born to wealth and privilege. Some countries in Africa have visited Nigeria to learn the mechanics of this program. It's a landmark program.
The passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill in 2021 set the stage for a revolution in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. That revolution is now beginning to happen under the watch of President Bola Tinubu.
Before this government came, and it's very fundamental, there were a lot of, companies that were divested. And as they were divesting, the investments were frustrated. But when this government came, we went around the world campaigning that come and invest in Nigeria. And the question was asked, the companies in Nigeria couldn't divest, so how can I bring my money to invest? If tomorrow I want to divest, how do I divest? And we told them that, look, this is a new government with a new direction. And so we have been able to successfully, allowed the divestments. The president, graciously approved of the divestments. And today, Nigeria's story has changed. And Nigeria is a country that you can bring your capex to invest and also divest at will.
For someone who has this experience, to see today an administration that allowed the Seplat Exxon transaction to go through successfully, I commend it. It's not me, Tony Miller or Ezodin's group buying it. It's others, but I commend it. Those are the signaling effect people want to see, investors want to see, that brings them to invest in the country. And by the way, not just investors come to invest, financiers, because we need capital. Those who will release that capital want to make sure that where the capital is going to is conducive. So when you approve Seplat Exxon transaction that has been on the table since life started, it is telling, it's signaling. You don't need any CNN advertisement.
Investors are now showing renewed interest in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. In December 2023, French energy giant Total Energies committed to invest $6 billion in the country's oil and gas industry. Other IOCs like Shell and ExxonMobil have also demonstrated similar commitments in the region of $13 billion.
There are investments that have run into tens of billions of dollars. There is also another investment that is coming that is about $20 billion, but it's good for it to come. And it is announced, when it is right. But we are very close. I believe that within a very short period, that announcement will be made.
The country's refineries are now coming back on stream. Together with the privately owned Dangote refinery and other modular refineries, they've helped to cut Nigeria's petrol import by around 50%. It's now only a matter of time before the country completely ends petrol import and safeguards foreign exchange.
Within no short period of time, we will have 1.2 million barrels of refining capacity. What that does is, of course, it makes us self-sufficient in petroleum products. It gives us the ability to export petroleum products efficiently, formally, legally, and profitably. But more important than that, along with that refining capacity comes the production of industrial raw materials from the adjoining and complementary petrochemical complexes.
Oil theft and other constraints still remain threats to the country's crude oil production target of at least 2.1 million barrels per day in 2025. But the government is not giving up on its projection.
Oil theft, was a major challenge as we came, but, with the collaboration of security agencies together with civilian contractors, we've been able to, reduce the oil theft. And that is why you see the increments that we've made, over the last 2 years. But we will continue to improve on what we have been able to achieve.
On security, I speak as a significant investor in the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. Our group, as Energies, we are the third biggest producer of oil in Nigeria today. We produce over 50,000 barrels of oil on a daily basis. In December 2021, I tweeted and I cried out because we will produce, and what we'll get at the end, when we put in the pipeline, we'll get 3% of total production. And so we cried out and we shut down. We said it's totally unsustainable. We are working for thieves on the country. And that is a manifestation of insecurity. Now, fast forward to December 2024. Our recovery is 100%. What you put in the pipeline, you get at the other end. That's totally impressive.
At inception, the Bola Tinubu administration had inherited a total of 2,604 projects in the Ministry of Works from the previous administration, totaling 13 trillion naira. The figure would rise to 19 trillion naira following the removal of petrol subsidy and floating of the naira.
So the president, in fact, and of course the Federal Executive Council, directed that we should do prioritization. So out of these 2,604, we selected about 404 projects, major projects, review them, and they are all ongoing. And then the new projects of Mr. President under this administration is about 65. And of course, this 65, excludes the 4 legacy projects of Mr. President.
The 4 legacy projects are ambitious, gigantic, and transformative road projects. They are unprecedented in the history of the country and link the entire nation. And this is one of them. The 750-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which will run from Victoria Island in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, to Calabar in Cross River State in the south-south of the country. Work has since begun on the project, and its first phase, which is approximately 30 kilometers, will be commissioned in May.
Incidentally, it has 2 spurs. The first spur is, it was supposed to be Sokoto, Badagry, Sokoto, as, envisaged by the Shagari administration, about 45 years back. But the president, changed it to Sokoto, Badagry. 1,068 kilometers. Intention is that the Sokoto Badagry should start from Sokoto and Kebbi. And as we talk today, we have 258 kilometers by 1 carriageway going on at, Kebbi section. And we have 120 kilometers, going on in, Sokoto section. We are about to procure the second carriageway of 258 in Kebbi and 250 and the 120 in Sokoto. But this is a spur, of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. So, but the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, 750 kilometers of route, of course, it runs through, Lagos, to Ogun, to Ondo, to Edo Delta, Bayelsa, Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom, and the ending at Cross River. And when it ends at Cross River, the axis of Cross River now starts from there to the the 3rd legacy project of Mr. President, which is the Trans-Sahara, route, which is 462 kilometers. And it connects from the, Calabar end, going through Calabar to Ebonyi, to Enugu, to Benue, to Kogi, to Nasarawa, and ends in Abuja. And then it connects the 4th legacy project of Mr. President, which is 482 kilometers, which, starts from, Akwanga. If you look at the just concluded project of, Kefi to Makurdi, which is been told now, then from that Akwanga section, it gets to Jos. And from Jos, it gets to Bauchi, it gets to Gombe. So the entire 4 legacy project of Mr. President, if you look at the loop, it's all connecting the 6 geopolitical zone.
While work is ongoing with the legacy projects, inherited major projects are also receiving equal attention. Among them is a 700-kilometer Abuja-Kaduna-Kano highway.
I think Nigeria never had it, this good. And I want to say, with all sense of responsibility, that before now, past government has been building roads. But today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is constructing roads. Because we are constructing roads that will last from 50 to 100 years. And the problem we've had in our road construction has been, poor design, poor construction, poor method of construction, and then lack of commitment on the side of all partners, getting things done. But it is no longer business as usual.
Across the 6 geopolitical zones, road projects are currently going on, overseen by a minister who's not only a core professional, but also passionate about executing the president's ambitious works projects.
There is no money anyway. The ones that we have, the president is judiciously using it very well. And I'm happy with his engagement in this legacy project because foreign money is coming in at as low as 2.5%, So this legacy project has 30%, Naira funding, and then 70%, loan component. When a nation borrows to do infrastructure, that is the right borrowing. And I tell you something, these legacy projects are not just road projects, they're investment. By December, we would have finished section 1 of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Apart from the inherent benefits, we're also going to recover our money, return on investment under 10 years. We're going to be tolling it, So when we borrow to invest, when we recover the money we borrowed, we'll be able to pay back, and we also, it becomes also part of the, the wealth of the nation.
The issue of transportation, especially with the removal of subsidy, we must look at a cheaper way of transportation, and the railway system is the very cheap system of transportation. And he continued with what the previous government started, the railway system from Lagos to Ibadan, from Ibadan to Kaduna, from Kaduna to Kano, Kano to Daura, Daura to Katsina, Katsina to Maradi, Maradi to Jibia in Niger Republic. That project has continued. Work is going on now, and the AKK, Ajakuta, Kaduna, Kano gas pipeline, which is absolutely necessary for the industrial development, especially in those industrial cities like Kaduna, Kano. You see, that work is going on.
To address the housing challenge confronting the country, President Bola Tinubu, on assuming office, launched the renewed Hope City and Estate Housing Initiative with a plan to build 100,000 housing units over a period of 3 years. That plan is now fully on course. Thousands of homes are currently being built across different states. The first set of houses will soon be handed over to successful applicants. Nigeria's perennial electricity challenge has for long defied every solution thrown at it. But after initiating some drastic reforms like the signing of the Electricity Act Amendment Bill 2024 and making huge investments, the government is gradually turning things around.
On 2nd of March 2025, Nigeria reached a remarkable generation available capacity of 6,003 megawatts, marking the first time this level had been recorded in the country's history. That is not enough. This achievement was followed by a peak generation evacuation of 5,801.44 megawatts on 4th of March 2025, which also saw an impressive daily energy output, the highest ever, 128,370.75 mega hours per day on that very day. We've always been in 119,000 megawatts on a daily basis, but we achieved 128. That is the highest energy ever consumed in a day since power sector came to being in Nigeria, and we are proud to achieve this.
It took the country about 40 years to attain 4,000 megawatts of power, but with its reforms, this government has been able to add 1,700 megawatts to attain a peak generation of 5,800 megawatts in less than 2 years.
Now that we have created the trajectory, if we sustain this trajectory, I can assure you that before the end of this administration in 2027, the first 10 of this administration, 2027, we should be able to generate and distribute nothing less than 8,000 megawatts of power.
Investments are now coming into the electricity sector as a result of the reforms by the government. Many states now regulate their own electricity market. The government is also investing heavily on renewable energy to power communities across the country that are not connected to the national grid through the Rural Electrification Agency. While the electricity sector still faces a number of challenges, the reform in the sector is no doubt changing the narrative one step at a time. In the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, an infrastructure revolution is going on. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and his team are bringing the president's ambitious aspirations for the capital to reality, one project at a time. In just 2 years, the number of projects executed and completed is mind-blowing. and they run across the entire FCT, covering both the city centers and satellite areas where many of the residents and indigenous people live.
The leadership Mr. President has shown is what has encouraged us to take bold decisions to say, look, we can't continue to be business as usual. We must do things in different ways. But before that, it was difficult because that leadership was not provided. And you don't want to go and take a decision where you're embarrassed by appointment. Nobody does that. So now we have seen that we have a leadership that's focused and said, it wants results. It does not want excuses. It does not want, oh, you see, people did it. No. He has confidence in you. He believes you have what it takes to support him, to achieve what he has promised Nigerians. So what is all this excuses that this happened, that didn't happen? So all we need is to continue for what we have stopped last year. Last year, it took us about 12 days, 13 days of commission of projects. This year alone, it's taking us 19 good days of projects that will touch on the lives of the people, those who reside in the city and those who reside in the satellite center. It has never happened.
The projects are fast changing the face of Abuja. New bus terminals have sprung up in the city. New roads and bridges have been built, and more are still under construction. Satellite towns are now being opened up as genuine development is reaching underserved communities in the FCT. One of the key sectors President Tinubu prioritized on coming into office is the health sector. It's partly what informed his decision to poach Professor Mohamed Pate from the Global Vaccine Alliance Gavi and appointed him Nigeria's coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare. Almost 2 years on, and with the introduction of several reforms by the administration, Nigeria's once broken health system is now being fixed.
The investment that we have had in 2024 and here now in 2025 being planned for infrastructural upgrades. This country has never seen something like that. Let me give you an example. Cancer, which is a major issue that is emerging in our society. President approved for 6 major cancer infrastructural upgrades and equipment upgrades in 2024 in February. World-class radiodiagnostic centers in collaboration with NSIA, for instance. There are 10 major radiodiagnostic centers that are being constructed right now. The subsidy that the federal government provided for dialysis, for instance, for kidney patients. Federal government bought 10,000 dialysis commodities through centers all across the geopolitical zones of Nigeria to make it cheaper for patients that are dialysis dependent, and accelerated renal transplant centers. Sokoto had its first renal kidney transplant. Now Ife is coming along. There are others that are looking at that. We're now beginning to think of liver transplant, open heart surgery. There are many of those infrastructural upgrades. So the kinds of things that you are hearing from abroad, or you have to go to Egypt or somewhere else to get them, are beginning to be feasible here. My goodness, orthopedics, a major cause of people traveling abroad. My own father had a domestic accident, had a major fracture in his mid-80s, but he was fixed within a week in a public hospital in this country, and within 4 weeks he was already standing.
Anchored in the Nigeria Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative, the reform in the health sector is fast transforming the country's health infrastructure, attracting over $3 billion in grants and investments. The government is investing massively to turn around the country's primary healthcare system. Existing primary healthcare centers are being upgraded. Over 8,000 new ones are now being built across the country.
So we set out to expand the primary healthcare system, to make it functional at level 2, to improve the level of functionality. So we embarked on increasing the functionality of 8,800 primary healthcare centers, and over time expanding them to 17,000 that are functional, so that Nigerians will have the retail points working between federal government, states, local governments, private sector, development partners to roll that going forward, to revitalize the basic healthcare provision fund. And in the last 2 years, we have had 6 out of the 11 ministerial oversight convenings of the basic healthcare provision fund that disburse resources to all the 36 states to those thousands of primary healthcare centers that are called BHCPF facilities all across Nigeria that receive on a quarterly basis disbursements for their fuel, for their running costs, for stipend for their health workers, for buying drugs and commodities for the patient that they see on the supply side. And with that, we're seeing of today 20 million contacts every quarter.
Beyond health infrastructure, the Tinubu administration is making healthcare easily accessible for all Nigerians. Today, pregnant women who require cesarean section can access the service for free at federal health facilities. Kidney patients can now get up to 80% subsidy on dialysis services at 11 federal hospitals across the country. And to address the manpower shortage in the health sector, the government has so far recruited over 2,000 doctors and nurses, as well as engaged 774 national health fellows across local government areas in the country. Over 600,000 health workers have also been retrained for better health services.
All in all, I think if you take the 2 years of this president's tenure is the midterm, I would say that we've turned around what was a very complex, underfunded, hyper-fragmented sector that underperformed relative to its peers to one that is being recognized in the continent and beyond the continent as one that is on a trajectory of much better performance and also is being touted as a leader.
Even though the president signed an executive order waiving import duty on health equipment, the government is also ramping up efforts on local pharmaceutical production.
By 2027, it's expected that 60% of health products, including personal care products, will be manufactured in Nigeria.
For over a decade, Nigeria has battled myriad of insecurity challenges, pushing the country to the brink. Learning from the challenges and successes of the previous administrations before it, and barring recent setbacks, the Tinubu administration is changing the narrative.
I think the most obvious thing is the commitment by the government. From the beginning, the president made very clear his commitment to address the security challenge, and this is manifested in different ways. First, in his renewed hope agenda, where he made security the second key priority, as it were. Then he also listed 8 elements that he put forward to address the national security challenge. Also, in terms of budgeting, we've seen a very steady increase, and in fact, an obvious increase in budgetary provision for the security sector from what he inherited at about 1-point-something trillion to 3.6 trillion thereabout, which is the last budget, the 2025 budget. We've also seen his engagement with the security sector leadership. You recall that one of the first things he did after his swearing in on May 29, 2023, was to visit the Office of the National Security Advisor, and he also had meetings with some of the security sector leadership. So that commitment, I think, it's unquestioned.
In just 2 years, the security reforms of the administration are bearing positive results. Terrorist attacks are declining. At some point, they've reached their lowest in over a decade. Terrorism-related deaths are also coming down. Attacks in the southeast have now been reduced by almost 75%.
The last 2 years is watershed, indeed, in the fight against banditry. 11,250 hostages on record free. A decline. We started witnessing the decline in abduction. Decisive blows to top warlords. The Kachallas, Ali Kachalla, Boderi, Halilu Sububu, Dangote, Isu, Yellow, Damuna, Buhari, all of them have met their creator. Over 50 of such leaders were eliminated. Over 70 of their deputies, commanders, and hundreds of foot soldiers neutralized. In the Northeast, Mr. President, where it all started over 20 years ago, the Boko Haram, the jihadis, over 13,543 terrorists and criminals neutralized since we came in. Over 124,408 Boko Haram ISWAP fighters and family members surrendered. Over 11,118 weapons recovered and destroyed. 252,596 rounds of assorted ammunition recovered and destroyed just in Borno State. Southeast, a welcome development is that the sit-at-home orders is becoming more and more ineffective. Key IPOP ESN figures capture and neutralize many in the battlefield. Over 50 police stations and many police forces are back in business. Attacks on security forces significantly reduced. Social and economic activities are normalizing. This can be testified by anyone who will visit the Southeast today.
Insecurity still remains a challenge in Nigeria, but the Tinubu administration is tackling it head-on with a clear focus and determination.
We will invest more in technology. We will take over all our forests. We must neutralize kidnapping, banditry, and terrorism. It was never like this before in Nigeria. But we will reverse the trend.
The aviation sector is not left out in the gradual transformation of the country as a result of the Tinubu administration's bold initiatives. Since he was appointed Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo has been leading the charge to transform the sector in line with the president's plan.
Through policy trusts, we have restored international and global confidence in the aviation ecosystem, especially in the global leasing world. We have brought back that confidence in the Nigerian ecosystem. And we have been able to do this, by instilling integrity in our system. And this was a fallout of our compliance, our strict compliance with the Cape Town Convention that we had been signatories to, but were very poor in adhering to the terms of that convention. And so it was public knowledge last year that we went ahead and took practical steps to comply with the tenets of the convention. We signed the practice direction in Nigeria, and then also rolled out the IDERA by the NCA. And these two actions by Nigeria catapulted Nigeria from 49.5% to 75.5% on the global compliance scale. And that officially is the highest in Africa. So as I speak with you, international leasers and financiers are back in Nigeria right now. And it's only a matter of time, not a long time, before Nigerians will feel the full impact in terms of newer aircrafts, in terms of lower prices, ticket prices, because it will lead to more competition, both on domestic, regional, and international routes.
The new international terminal in Lagos, built by the previous administration, is now fully operational. Plans are now underway for a complete remodeling of the old terminal. Several routes are now being opened for ease of connections across the continent and beyond. And some airlines that left Nigeria in the past are now back. Key bilateral air service agreements have been finalized, integrating Nigeria more deeply into the global aviation ecosystem, facilitating easier and more efficient air travel between Nigeria and other countries under mutual benefits.
We have been able to open up a number of routes again for our domestic airlines, and also to attract some other international airlines to ensure that traveling experience for Nigerians is enhanced and Nigerians have more options on some of these international routes. And so, of course, you saw the return of Emirates, the return of Emirates to the Nigerian